Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Aiden's Breakdowns, and today I'll be going over the recent moves that occurred at this year's trade deadline. We got a lot to unpack, so let's get straight to it. First trade I want to talk about is the Trae Young deal. Now, this trade didn't happen at the deadline, but still wanted to talk about it. In the trade, it's just Trae Young straight up for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. Now, I think this is an absolute steal for the Wizards, considering CJ McCollum's only on an expiring deal. Essentially, it's just a Trae Young for Corey Kispert swap, and I'd much rather have Trae Young on my team long term than Corey Kispert. He's just a more valuable player in this league, and Washington finally gets a player who's their best player since Bradley Beal and John Wall. Now for Atlanta, they move on from Trae Young. We're officially in the Jalen Johnson era. Corey Kispert is a nice role player who can provide you some shooting off the bench. But other than that, I really like that Washington came out of this deal with Trae Young, considering they didn't have to give up that much to get him. Might be a little harsh, but I'm going to give the Hawks an F for this trade, and I'm going to give the Wizards an A+, considering that Trae Young has been the Hawks' best player for, the past 8 seasons, and all you're walking out with is Corey Kispert. I'm going to give Washington an A+ for this deal, and Atlanta an F. Next deal we'll talk about is the DeAndre Hunter trade. Now, we'll start off with the Chicago Bulls. I'm going to give them an A+ because all they had to give up was a two-way player, and they walked out of the deal with 2 second-round picks. So, giving the Bulls an A+ for this one. As for the Kings, I'm going to give them a C-. I thought them being buyers at the deadline was a little weird, considering they are the worst team in the Western Conference right now, and I think this is a move to maybe become a winning team next season, but I really thought the Kings should have been sellers at the deadline. Maybe you can move a Sabonis, a Levine, a DeRozan if you can get some value for those players, because the last thing you want as one of the worst teams in the NBA is for your best players' value to decrease over time, and then you're not going to be able to move them for practically anything in the future. So don't really understand this move that much for the Kings. I'm going to give them a C- because of that. As for the Cavs, I'm going to give them a D. I don't really understand giving up forward depth. This is your best forward off the bench for 2 guards. I'm going to name all the guards on the Cavs roster that they currently have that you could argue could get playing time. So we have Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Dennis Schroeder, Sam Merrill, Keon Ellis, Craig Porter Jr., Tyrese Proctor. It's a lot of guard play, and when you look at the non-guards on this team, you look at Larry Nance Jr., Thomas Bryant, Dean Wade, Max Strus, who hasn't been healthy, and then you get to your starters, Jalen Tyson, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. I think it's just too many guards on this team, not enough forward depth. So I really don't understand this trade for the Cavs, especially considering they were buyers at last year's deadline, acquiring Hunter, and then you're just giving him up a year later. So a bit of a head scratcher of a deal for the Cavs in my opinion, which is why I'm going to give them a D. Next trade we'll talk about is the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade to the Utah Jazz. Now, I really like this for Utah. You can have a starting 5 moving forward of Keontae George, Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, Triple J at the 4, and then Walker Kessler at the 5. I think this is a team who can definitely make the play-in next season, maybe even the playoffs, if all things go right. The Jazz will also have their lottery pick, so whoever they pick in the lottery in this year's draft to add to their core. I really like this trade for the Jazz. They're not really giving up super valuable first-round picks, so they're giving up a 2027 first. That's the most favorable pick between Utah, Cleveland, and Minnesota. So if Utah's good next season, this pick probably won't be that valuable. You got a 2027 Lakers first round pick that's top 4 protected. Don't think that's going to be a lottery pick or anything. And then you have a 2031 first round pick from the Phoenix Suns, which is an unprotected pick. So that pick is actually probably pretty valuable in my opinion. But I think the main thing is that besides the 2027 first that Utah is giving up, Utah still has all of their first round picks for the future. So it's not like they're throwing all their eggs in one basket. They could still go out and make a move, stack some of those picks to acquire another guy. I love this trade for Utah. As for the Grizzlies, I'm going to give it a C+. Talk about the return of Taylor Hendricks, Kyle Anderson, Walter Clayton Jr., Georges Niang, and the 3 picks. I like that you're getting 3 firsts from Memphis in exchange for Jaren Jackson Jr., but really the only valuable player coming back in this deal is Walter Clayton Jr., and I'm not super high on him. You're also getting Taylor Hendricks in this deal, who I was really high on coming out of the draft, but has dealt with some injuries. So it's a little weird. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. is a phenomenal player in my opinion. I don't know if I love this return for him. And I don't know, after trading Desmond Bane last offseason, now Jaren Jackson Jr. at the deadline this season, they're probably going to move on from Ja Morant maybe this offseason. It just seems like this is the wrong direction to be going when I swear this team was just a 2 seed. Vibes were great just a few seasons ago. So I'm going to give this a C+ for the Grizzlies. Next trade to talk about will be the Jaden Ivey trade to the Chicago Bulls. I'm going to give this an A+ for Chicago. I think the only players Chicago gave up in this trade were Kevin Huerter and Dario Saric. Dario Saric they got in the DeAndre Hunter trade. So really you're getting Jaden Ivey. They're also getting Mike Conley, but they waived Mike Conley. This is essentially just a Jaden Ivey for Kevin Huerter swap. And Jaden Ivey has a much higher ceiling than Kevin Huerter, and for a rebuilding team, that's exactly what you need. So I'm going to give this an A+ for the Bulls. B- for the Pistons. I think that considering they took Jaden Ivey with a top lottery pick in the draft and him really not panning out with the team, you're turning that into Kevin Huerter, who I think is a good role player, provides you with some good shooting off the bench, but that's just not what you want to see out of a former lottery pick getting turned into Kevin Huerter. So I'm going to give this a B- for the Pistons. I'm going to give this a D for the Timberwolves. They pretty much just traded Mike Conley away. I know it was probably to get under, in fact, I know it was to get under the luxury tax, but you gave up a player, you gave up a pick swap, so I think now Detroit gets Minnesota's pick, and Minnesota is going to get a first-round pick that's all the way at the end of the first round in this year's draft because Detroit is the 1 seed. So don't really like that for Minnesota. This would be an F if they weren't going under the luxury tax, but because they are, I'll give them a D. But really, I'm talking about what they're getting and giving up in the trade. I'm not really accounting for being above or below the luxury tax that much, so I'm going to give them a D for the trade. Next trade we got is the Anthony Simons for Nikola Vucevic trade. Now, I like this for both teams. I think the Celtics get a starting caliber center. I really like their center rotation now with Vucevic, Keita, Luka Garza. And then as for the Bulls, you're getting younger, getting Anthony Simons for an aging Nikola Vucevic. Now, the thing I don't like with the Bulls and this deal is that the Bulls could have gotten way more value for Vucevic if they had traded him a year ago, 2 years ago. So the fact that he's just getting traded for Anthony Simons, no picks really because they're just swapping seconds, is a little disappointing for a rebuilding team. I'm going to give the Bulls a B- for this deal. I like Anthony Simons. I still think he can be maybe a starting level point guard in today's NBA. He's a great scorer, and I'm going to give this a B+ for the Celtics because I think it just makes a little more sense. You're going to have Peyton Pritchard, Jason Tatum when he comes back, Derek White who can handle the ball. I think getting another center in that rotation with Vucevic's experience is a little more valuable, especially in the playoffs, than an Anthony Simons, especially when you already have a guy like Peyton Pritchard who's going to be starting over him. So B+ for the Celtics, B- for the Bulls. Now this was probably my least favorite deal out of any trade at the deadline. It was the James Harden for Darius Garland swap. Clippers are getting Darius Garland and a second-round pick. Cleveland is getting James Harden. I do not understand why the Cavs are going after Harden. He is way older than Darius Garland, not on the same timeline as Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jalen Tyson, Jared Allen. I think he's probably going to be out of the league in, 3 seasons? And I still think Darius Garland is an all-star caliber player in this league. And again, he's way younger. So I think the Clippers needed to get younger. They need to move on from this Harden, Kawhi experiment. They're just not a good enough team to contend in the West anymore. You need to get younger. You need to rebuild. And I really like this move for the Clippers. Hate this move for Cleveland. I don't think they're going to be winning a championship this season. And when they get eliminated in the playoffs, they're going to look at James Harden on their roster. And if they keep getting eliminated year after year, like if they got eliminated in the playoffs this season and next season, maybe the year after that, you're going to want to have Darius Garland on your team more than you're going to want James Harden on your team. So gonna give this an F for the Cavs because I do not think this is a move that guarantees them a spot in the finals. I don't probably even have them beating Detroit in the second round still, which is who they would play in the second round if the season were to end today. So F for the Cavs. I'm gonna give this an A+ for the Clippers. Now the next trade kind of came out of nowhere. It was Anthony Davis being sent to the Washington Wizards along with Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum, and the package for AD included Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley III, 2 future first-round picks, and 3 future second-round picks. Now, I'm not really going to talk about the 3 second-round picks because they're second-round picks. They get a 2026 first from OKC, so that could be the last pick in the first round in this year's draft. Then they're getting a 2030 first-round pick from Golden State, but it is top 20 protected. So really, you're trading Anthony Davis for, Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, and Marvin Bagley III. Marvin Bagley III is a bust. Chris Middleton, you can argue, should not be playing in the NBA anymore. So you're trading Anthony Davis for AJ Johnson and Malachi Branham. 2 players who are young, but I don't think they have tremendous potential being solid rotational pieces in the NBA for years to come. And then when you look at the bigger picture as well, this is pretty much what you're trading Luka Doncic for. So I'm going to be generous and give this a D for the Mavs because at least you're getting some picks, some young players for AD. I don't think AD is a super valuable player anymore in terms of an asset. I still think he's a phenomenal player when he's healthy, but again, that's if he's healthy. So for the Wizards, I'm going to give it an A+. They pretty much didn't give up anything for AD, and you're getting a top 30 player, top 25 player at least when he is available. So why not take a chance on him if you're not going to have to give up that much to get him? So D for the Mavs. I'm going to give this an A+ for the Wizards. Now this one I also did not see coming. It was the Jared McCain trade to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm going to give this a C for the 76ers. Daryl Morey, I don't know if it was an interview or a press conference, but he said he was selling high on McCain. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that. I mean, they spent a first round pick on him and they're getting a first round pick back, I think, in this year's draft. They're also getting seconds as well. I think they probably didn't see McCain being a crucial part or an important part of their backcourt for the future, considering that they have Tyrese Maxey, and now that VJ Edgecombe is there, who's looking great for the Sixers, there's not really a ton of playing time to be given to Jared McCain. And the Thunder are just going to take a chance on a guy who's on a good rookie contract. He can contribute, he's a good shooter, young player, and I don't mind them taking a chance on McCain at all. Gonna give this a B+ for the Thunder and a C for the 76ers. Next trade we'll talk about is the Coby White deal to the Charlotte Hornets. In the deal, the Oklahoma City Thunder are receiving Mason Plumlee, who they waived. Charlotte is getting Mike Conley, who they waived, Coby White in a second-round pick, and then the Bulls are getting 2 second-round picks. Sorry, make that 3 second-round picks, Ousmane Dieng and Colin Sexton. Ousmane Dieng was later traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. So for the Hornets, I'm going to give them an A. They're essentially turning Sexton and second-round picks into Coby White, which is an upgrade. And then I'm going to give this a C for the Thunder. They got involved in this trade to make a roster spot for Jared McCain. But if you're just looking at the trade, trading for Mason Plumlee and giving up Ousmane Dieng just doesn't look right. So I'm going to give them a C. As for the Bulls, I'm going to give them a C. I mean, they just wanted to stack up on second-round picks. I believe Colin Sexton and Coby White are both expiring contracts, so the Bulls are coming out of this deal with a net positive of 2 second-round picks, but they're getting a worse player on their team. So I'm going to give them a C. So in summary, C for the Bulls, A for the Hornets, and a C for the Thunder. Only got a few trades left here. We'll start with the Porzingis trade to the Golden State Warriors. Now we had Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield being sent to Atlanta. The Jonathan Kuminga thing is officially over in Golden State. Warriors are getting Kristaps Porzingis. Not really too sure when Porzingis is going to be back on the basketball court. I think when healthy, if he's healthy, again, this is another player that you're playing the game of what if in terms of health, but it does look interesting. You can throw out some interesting lineups with Porzingis on the court with Draymond Green, with Steph Curry, with Jimmy Butler, and you're trading away Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield, who weren't really producing much off the bench for your team anyway. Kuminga was getting DNPs. It was just time to move on. And then for Atlanta, I'm going to give them a B. You're turning Porzingis into a young asset in Jonathan Kuminga and a rotational shooter in Buddy Hield. Basically, you're just taking a chance on Kuminga, and you're only giving up Porzingis, who's on an expiring deal anyway. So I like that for the Hawks. I'm a fan of Kuminga. I think he's got potential. I don't know if he's got all-star potential, but I think he could still be a starter in this league if given the right opportunity and the right development. So gonna give this a B for the Hawks. Gonna give this a C for the Warriors. Next trade is the Ayo Dosunmu trade. Gonna give this a B for the Timberwolves. You're giving up Rob Dillingham, Leonard Miller, and 4 second-round picks. Now, the Rob Dillingham thing just didn't end up working for your team. I found it a little weird that they traded up for him on draft night. They gave up 2 first-round picks to acquire him, and for a team that was going to be competitive, I wasn't too sure how they were going to incorporate Rob Dillingham in their lineup, and the problem was that they never really did. Dante DiVincenzo, Mike Conley, they were taking up a lot of the guard minutes, and then when they acquired Bones Highland, that's when Rob Dillingham was really in the shadows, not getting much PT. So I think they wanted to trade Rob, maybe to get a better rotational piece that allows the Timberwolves to compete now. And Ayo Dosunmu, I think, is a great player. So I'm going to give this a B for the Timberwolves. I'm going to give this a C+ for the Bulls. They're trading away the best player in this deal, but I still like Rob Dillingham. I liked him coming out of the draft. I think, taking a chance on him, taking a swing on him could be beneficial. You're also getting a young player in Leonard Miller, as well as 4 second-round picks. So I'll give this a C+ for the Bulls, B for the Timberwolves. And then the last trade we'll talk about, to me the most interesting trade of the deadline, my favorite trade of the deadline, it's going to be the Ivica Zubac trade to the Indiana Pacers. So the Pacers get Ivica Zubac and Kobe Brown. The LA Clippers get Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, a 2029 first-round pick unprotected, a second-round pick, and this is where it gets interesting. They get a 2026 first-round pick, but it is top 4 protected. So if that pick lands in the top 4, the pick will go to Indiana. If it is between 5 and 9, it'll go to the Clippers, and if it's 10 through 30, the pick will go to the Pacers. And what I like about this trade for the Clippers is that if the Pacers end up getting a top 4 pick and the 2026 pick ends up going to the Pacers, that pick now turns into a 2031 unprotected first. So I really like the Clippers getting younger here. I'm pretty high on Benedict Mathurin. You're getting at least 2 unprotected first round picks in this deal. Isaiah Jackson, a rotational center, a second round pick. You're getting all of that for Ivica Zubac, which I think is a pretty good return. And then the Pacers desperately needed to replace Miles Turner, who was a key piece for them in making that finals run just a year ago. So now for Indiana, potentially, you have Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, and Ivica Zubac. And if they get that top 4 pick, let's just say they land a Darren Peterson, a Cameron Boozer, a AJ DeBansa, a Caleb Wilson. That team looks very interesting moving forward. So I really like that for the Pacers, but I really think this comes down to if the Pacers get that top 4 pick or not. If they do, I'm going to give them an A+. This was a tremendous deal for them, but if not, I'm probably going to give them a C+. Now, because you're missing out on a franchise-changing talent, because any one of the top 4 that's going to go top 4 in this class is a franchise-changing talent, in my opinion. Maybe not a franchise player, but they will all change the franchise that they will go to. Now, if the Clippers have to give up that pick to Indiana, I'm going to give them an A-, but if that pick lands between 5 and 9, they get to keep that pick, and let's just say they drafted Kingston Flemings, a Keaton Wagler, a Jaden Quaintance, a Darius Acuff Jr. That looks really exciting for the Clippers' future as well, so then I would give them an A. But that's going to wrap it up for the trades. 2 more things I wanted to address in terms of moves that happened at the deadline or around the deadline that weren't trades. We had Cam Thomas being released by the Brooklyn Nets just didn't really fit the culture anymore there in Brooklyn, and the Nets wanted to move forward with other pieces, young pieces in their rebuild, which I don't agree with. I think Cam Thomas is one of their more talented players, and if you can't get value for him in a trade, just keep him on the roster. But ended up going to Milwaukee. I think that's going to be a really nice piece for them, whether he comes off the bench or maybe starts some games, but he is a microwave scorer, and this is the kind of moves you need to make when, for Milwaukee, you're kind of a desperate team if you want Giannis Antetokounmpo to stay on your roster. And then the second pickup we had was the New York Knicks acquiring Jeremy Sohan after he was waived by the San Antonio Spurs, which I was surprised about, but when I really thought about it, I understood it. I probably would have kept him on the roster if I was San Antonio. I don't think having him on the roster hurts you. I really liked him in San Antonio. But as for the New York Knicks side of things, I think picking him up was a great decision. Now you have even more forward depth, and I think he's just a winning basketball player. So I like this move for the Knicks a lot. But that's going to be it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and peace.